Welcome to Horror Makes Us Happy, the podcast where we ask the question, what is it about horror that makes us happy? Your hosts are Steve Becker and Chris Whitman, and you can find out more about us at horrormakesushappy.com. Before we get started, this is the trigger warning section. Just to let you know, we're going to be talking about some messed up stuff. I'll call it by a different adjective in a second. This is your chance to either, decide not to listen to this, because we will talk about things involving horror culture, which could involve anything from murder, rape, suicide, child abuse, bad words. We're going to say bad words a lot, probably. So yes, if that's your thing, tune in. If not, maybe give it a second choice. Otherwise, listen to us talk about fucked up shit.
Like that.
Let's see. Next up, we will be speaking with musician and author Andy Dean. But this week, we have the pleasure of a guest artist, clothing designer, DJ, and just diehard horror fan with an awesome collection, Jennie Murray. Welcome.
Hey.
How are you?
Stumble through the intro. Yay.
Yeah, no. I am good for a Sunday morning at 10:30 in Brisbane, I guess. I'm usually asleep now, so...
Well, thank you for getting up early.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me. It kind of came out of the blue, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I, have never done anything like this before, so, yeah. That's awesome.
So in this interview, we'll be asking 3 sets of questions generally, covering childhood, teenage years, and adulthood, to find out what it is about horror that you like. The idea being that if we interview enough people, we might find some common themes or some uncommon ones too. But that said, if there's anything that we ask that you don't want to answer, just say pass and we'll move on. It's not meant to be a therapy session.
Yeah.
But starting with childhood, what are some of your earliest memories of scary things?
Well, as a kid, because I'm very, visual and I'm an artist, I was always really drawn to, creepy, cartoons or anything that was, Scooby-Doo and, I don't know if you know, Goober and the Ghost Chasers kind of thing, creepy kind of cartoons that had a creepy side to them, like Addams Family and stuff like that. So, I think that's, probably, the gateway to, just and anything that or even artwork, anything that kind of physically looked like creepy. I just found it really intriguing, and I wasn't exactly sure why, but I wasn't a girly girl. I was quite a tomboy, and I just didn't really know where I was fitting kind of in. I wasn't into Disney princesses or anything like that. Fucking Scooby-Doo, man. I'd still watch that shit very happily. I love damn Scooby-Doo, hey. And Goober and the Ghost Chasers, I don't know if you remember that one, but he was, this super, he was seedier than Scooby. Goober, he's, this blue fucking dog with a beanie on. He's, kind of, Scooby-Doo's, the weed-smoking kind of type of dog. Fucking Goober is the smack kind of dog. He
okay.
He kind of always looked like you're seconds away from fucking wanting to ring an ambulance for him kind of thing. But I love those really old school kind of cartoons that people chasing masked people and ghosts and people wearing masks and all that. I just thought it was really fucking cool, eh?
Favorite episodes?
I don't know if it's my fucking memory. I don't actually remember individual episodes anymore. I kind of remember certain villains and what they kind of looked like, but
okay.
To be honest, oh geez, you put me under pressure now.
What villains popped to mind?
I don't think because I know there was some that were really famous where there was guys in cloaks what's the villain? A bit like Skeletor, but not Skeletor. Very Skeletor-ish looking dude. I know there was one that was that may have been in several episodes. I don't know if there was reoccurring. I swear there was one kind of villain that was in several fucking episodes. Hey, maybe
or just reruns.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. No, I was just and I think that's when I started drawing and stuff and doing art, I really looking at those cartoons. It's I was very observant, and that's kind of how I learnt to start drawing and taking notice about how certain things were drawn in cartoons.
Yeah. I've done the same. You pause it and just stare at it, and just to get that one image because you want to draw it and see if you can draw the style that they did.
Yeah, like especially like little things like, oh, what do people draw noses like on a certain angle or something like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, and just like getting overall inspiration for like things that you want to draw. But yeah.
It seems like you were into a lot of like spooky animation as a kid. So I gotta ask, did you see any of the like popular creepy animated movies of the time, like Secret of Nim or Wizards?
Yeah, I remember seeing like the Secret of Nymph, but I think that was like at school. Like yeah, I think because we had to read the book.
I didn't even know there was a book.
Yeah, I think we had to read the book and then look at the movie. You know, I don't know if I was overly into that. Like that was quite fucking dark. That one like had fucking rats in it and shit. Hey. It's like had the rats, wasn't it? Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, the rats, the owl, Nicodemus. Yeah. It was some spooky shit. Spooky, in fact, that it couldn't be a Disney product. So Don Bluth was like, "Well, fuck you, I'm going to do it myself."
Oh wow, yeah. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah, it was quite creepy. Like, because all the kind of the animations that were spooky that I liked still had a kind of cute side. And maybe that was a little too dark for me then, you know. Maybe that was just a bit too down the rabbit hole at that stage, you know.
Possible.
Yeah, because I remember liking spooky things, but then there was like some things that's like animation that scared me as a child that I didn't like. Like I always remember being quite freaked out. You know the bit in the Dumbo animation when he gets like high off like drinking alcohol in the barrel and there's
the fake
all
elephants.
Yeah, that shit freaked me fucking out, man. Like
it's supposed to.
Yeah, and so like I didn't like I watched it and I was still. I think that's a thing with horror though is when you're young and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this, but you're still really glued to it, you know? You're not sure why you're like, I can't look away, but you're still really freaked out. And that's one thing. Those elephants really fucked me up, I reckon. Hey, I would dream about that shit. Yeah,
which is kind of funny now when I think about it, because some of the pictures of your clothing that I've seen posted, aren't those kind of like some similar colors?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe I'm just out there to really terrify young children.
I mean, who isn't? You know.
But that's my. Well, it's actually really funny because when like I've done a few market stalls and that, and you'll see like I'll always put my prints out and like adults will come and they'll be like, oh, like some of them are like fucking idiots, you know. They're like, oh, cool art, but it's a bit like kind of childish. And then all the kids will come and they'll be like, they'll love it. And then, but you'll see the kind of parents' faces going, it's cute, but it's also very terrifying and fucked up and like psychedelic. And they're like trying to shelter.
And you're like, you get it exactly.
Yeah. They're trying to shelter their children from my art, but I'm like, go kids. Like, it's always the kids that end up like asking their parents if they can buy my prints. Hey, so like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So let's see, Dumbo getting high, Secret of Nim, maybe not in your wheelhouse. What else didn't you like when you were a kid in horror?
I don't know.
Was there anything that actually scared you?
Yeah, well, you like fucking unsolved mysteries, man. I think every child was really scared of that. Like, not that it was necessarily horror, but it was like, it was that dude's voice. Like, that haunted me for a very fucking long time. They would tell stories about people, and they're like, oh, these children, and then they're like lying in their bed, and it just burst into flames, and it was definitely the devil, you know. And
that's a real thing.
Like, yeah, and because I lived in Ireland, and like Ireland is like super fucking Catholic, and like I'd go to like when I went to school. My school in Ireland was like run by nuns, and they'd be like every fucking Monday, they'd be like, if you didn't go to church on Sunday, you're going to fucking hell. And they'd tell me all horrible things because I was like left-handed and shit.
There, I heard your accent.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Wouldn't it be fucking hell?
Because I was left-handed, they'd tell me I was like going to go to hell. they would try to make me write with my right hand and shit. So like I was very terrified by like things like anything kind of like unsolved mysteries related. It freaked the shit out of me. And fucking it's not horror, but like fucking like my older brother was babysitting me, and he fucking had a Mississippi Burning, the movie Mississippi Burning on, and because I obviously Irish and we didn't have any like people of color in Ireland, I didn't understand what the fucking KKK were. So I was always terrified that the KKK was going to come and burn my fucking house down. That was great.
That's a good, chill at home movie to throw on. That's
I know. I don't know what my brother was thinking, but yeah, that actually scarred me for life. That movie, yeah, I like to this day. I'm always terrified of my house going on fire in the middle of the night. I just think it would be a really bad way to fucking go. Like being stuck in a fucking house. That would be really terrifying.
So I guess the common theme here that we're starting to see is that you were, turned off by things that were realistically horrific, but there was some element of the cartoonish horror that was somehow interesting.
Well, I feel like I'm like sitting down for a therapy session now, because that like you just blew my mind, because that shit, like, to this day, like, I think that's very me right now. Like, I'm not one to really like, when you fucking like people love fucking real gore and stuff. Like, I like if real gore is on TV, I get really squeamish. I don't like it. Like, if I think something is real, I kind of don't like it. But I love, if I know it's fake, and even if it's really real looking, I fucking love that. And I'll be sitting there with this big smile on my face going, this is mad. But like, you could be showing me something fucking real and just telling me that it's fake, and I'll be fine. But as soon as my brain kind of goes, it's fucking real, like if I thought it was real, or like, if I'm sitting down, what's it, fucking MD Pope fucking dickhead, what's his name? Yeah, like any of his shit, like I'd be like, nah, don't want to watch any of that, because it's.
You don't want to watch someone vomit violently?
Yeah.
For like 4 hours?
No, surprisingly not. Yeah, I've done it. I've done a lot of vomiting in my life, and I've kind of got past.
Fun.
Yeah, no, not really.
So these cartoons like Scooby-Doo and Goober, you weren't actually scared by them at all, or was there any fear, like excitement, just fun?
Excitement and fun, but yeah, like no fear. No, definitely no fear. But yeah, yeah.
Any idea what excited you about them?
I liked the creativity of like maybe like how different villains looked. Yeah, I guess it was a very visual thing for me. Like on how they looked and different kind of costumes that they would be wearing.
Was there anybody in your family who was a horror fan at the time?
No, not really. I've kind of always been like a little like loner.
Was there anything else that actually scared you as a child?
There wasn't much that physically scared me. Like, I was the type of kid that my great grandma, she lived in a house which was the caretaker's house on a really big old cemetery in Ireland. And as a kid, like, I grew up playing like hide and seek behind the tombstones of like cemetery. So I would like play in the cemetery for like hours. And it was a really fucking big old cemetery. Hey, like it was massive. Like I always remember my older brother and sister trying to scare me about it, but it just like, I think most kids probably would have been a bit scared about it, thinking that there's like dead bodies, under where you're playing, and you're sitting there like having a picnic on someone's grave and stuff like that. But I was pretty cool about it. I actually really liked it. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm chilling with like a bunch of dead people underneath me. That's cool.
Right? Like, it's just a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, actually, I always remember seeing an interview. Someone was interviewing Tim Burton, and he actually had a really similar story that he played in graveyards when he was a child. And I was like, that's exactly what I did, man.
So Halloween, you mentioned you did participate in Halloween in Ireland.
Yes, I fucking love
Did you dress up?
Halloween. Oh yeah, oh my god. Yeah, so, because, like, as I was saying to you, I've, like, a brother and sister that are, like, 10 years older than me. Every year my sister would, do my makeup and organize my costume for me, and, like, I always felt like she went really far out. Like, I felt like I was always just that little bit extra than the other kids, which was super cool.
Did you have a favorite costume?
Yeah, like, she did this one year, she made me a witch, but I looked so good, like, she fucking, like, got, like, rice bubbles, and, I don't know, you call them Rice Krispies, like, cereal? Puffed rice. And she, like, glued them to my fucking nose, and, like, yeah, it's, like, old school practical effects here. Like, she glued them to my nose and, like, painted my whole face, like, green, and backcombed the shit out of my hair, like, I looked like I'd been electrocuted. And at the time, I was so up for it. Hey, I was like, I looked so good. Like, I was like, I'm some scary motherfucking witch. And then, like...
Best looking witch in the neighborhood? What?
I totally was, man. I was like Queen Witch. And I was so stoked with myself. And all my friends were like, oh my god, I thought you were like a real witch. And like, I was like loving it. And then, like, later on that night when we got home, like, after all the trick-or-treating and the bonfire and the eating of the candy, Mum was like, oh, we need to try to brush your hair out. And oh my god, it was like the most painful process like I feel like I've ever gone through in my whole life. I just remember screaming so much and being in so much tears, and it felt like just my whole head. It felt like I had like one giant dreadlock or something in my, like, attached to my head, and it wasn't wanting to come out. Hey, it was terrible. I was really pissed.
Don't they make conditioner, like, specifically for getting dreads out? I mean, now.
Well, they do now. Actually, they do, because I did have dreads for like 10 years or something. Hey, I had like dreads.
Didn't that teach you a lesson?
Oh, mate, I know. And I actually, like, when I got rid of my dreads, I decided not to fully shave my head, but I cut kind of like shoulder length, and I spent 3 weeks combing those fuckers out with the special conditioner. And it did remind me of that. I'm like, this is Halloween all over again. Like, just reliving past trauma. But, yeah, like, why did I do that?
Did you have any scary dreams when you were a kid?
Fuck, yeah, I did, but it doesn't make sense why they were scary, those type of dreams?
Yeah.
Like...
Give it to me.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like two dreams that are kind of next to each other, and it's like me starting, and I'm like, I go and hide in a closet, and then it all goes black, and it's like space, like fucking space. And there's all these, like, different balls, like different marbles, like different size marbles. And it's like there's a finish line, and all these marbles are rolling towards this finish line. I don't know if they actually end up getting to the finish line. I wake up shaking, fucking feverish, and I've had this dream so many damn times and feeling extremely scared. Like, extremely scared. There's nothing fucking physically scary about these balls of marbles rolling. I have no idea. I would love to know if there's like an inner meaning for this dream or something, but
well, the closet going into darkness and then exploding or like expanding into space, that I'll understand. That's all spooky and scary. I'm sure there's some kind of psychological connection to some Freudian thing there, but the marble races,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's where you lose me.
Yeah, it's very strange, and yeah, I would always wake up like, and I would be just covered in sweat and really shaky and just extremely terrified.
So, to sum up childhood, if we were to ask if horror in your childhood made you happy, it sounds like the answer is already yes. As far as why it made you feel happy,
what
do you think?
Just because it was like so visually stimulating. Like, I just got like instant gratification from visually looking at it. Like, I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I constantly see come up in the interviews, and I agree with too. Is just like, I don't know, maybe people gravitate to horror at a younger age because the art style is just interesting and it has more detail than things that are good guyish, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
bad guys always have more detail and they look cooler.
And I think think like also like
and outlandish. Like it.
Yeah,
Not. I don't want to say violating.
they break
How can I
rules.
say that? Well, sort of a shocking kind of way. Like shock and excitement are often tied to each other, and the excitement comes from crossing some sort of a boundary that you're not expecting to be crossed. And that doesn't necessarily, as we get older, obviously that turns into other things like, sex or what have you, or crime. But at an early age, there can be different, for lack of a better word, boundaries or expectations that, get violated, but that can be exciting. And I don't know if that maybe plays into it too or not.
I think also, just because like also like when you are at such a young age, like let's say like a drama movie's like playing on TV, like like a 5 or 6 year old kid isn't really going to give too much of a shit about like some really kind of in-depth fucking storyline. Like there's nothing visual there to fucking grasp you at that age, you know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like whereas fucking like horror, like it's so fucking like, oh, there's really cool visual shit. Like even like with like PG kind of horror or there's still like lots of real, and especially back like when I was a kid, like like in the early 90s and shit, like there was so much quite funny visual effects happening in like movies and things like that. So it was always very visual. Yeah, definitely.
So let's go into teenage years. What were some of your favorite or scariest stories or books or movies that impacted you during your teenage years?
Well, like, yeah, automatically, like, when you say teenage years, the first thing that really got to me as a teenager was, like, I remember being 12 and the Blair Witch Project, like, was coming out. And, like, we kind of I think my family just got the internet. And so, like, all these stories were kind of circulating. And I was like, I was so stoked for this movie to come out. I was pumped, but which was really strange because, like, it was one of those things, as I said earlier on, like, usually I didn't like something if I thought it was real, but I still kind of would watch it and be scared shitless, but also not a fan of it. So like like all the Blair Witch promotion, and it was like made to be like there's these 3 kids and they went into the fucking woods looking to do this documentary on the witch and blah. And when you started researching it like on the internet, there was like all like they had gone to the effort of making like all these side stories and like shit that really quite added up into feeding people to believe that what they were going to watch was fucking going to be real.
I think they were one of the first crews or projects to do like viral marketing.
Yeah, it was amazing marketing. Like I know people now think, oh, Blair Witch, really shit film, but I think you kind of had to be like at a certain age at that time to really kind of grasp how brilliant what they fucking did was. And yeah, so I was so pumped for this movie to come out. I was constantly on the internet researching like all the different shit about it, and it came out. And the first day it came out in Australia, I was 13 when it came out, and it had an MA rating when I think it was like the first week that over here it was rated MA, and I had to go. I remember going into the cinema, and me and my friend were there, and we asked some random dude. I'm like, man, can you buy us the tickets so we can fucking get in, because we couldn't buy the tickets ourselves because we weren't 15. I was so stoked. He got us the tickets. We went in. And watched the movie. It actually terrified me quite a bit. I think it was just it kept me awake at night a little bit, and
at first they got you, looking back on it, it's not real, but that first watch, they got you. It fucking got me, and I really had so much appreciation for someone being able to do that, because like I had never at that age, like I had never seen a found footage movie before. Like I'm like trying to think of found footage movies that predated Blair Witch, and all I can really think about is like Cannibal Holocaust or definitely the Blair Witch scared me. Like
I watched The Exorcist for the first time, I believe, when I was like 13, and that scared me. I think it was so much like because I'd been brought up in such a strong Catholic country, and religion played such a strong part of being an Irish person, even though like, you know, I never felt like I really believed in anything.
But it does that. Like when you're programmed with that at an early age, you're automatically a little scared of anything satanic or
exactly.
You're gonna go to hell, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it did quite remind me of maybe some stories that you would hear also on the Unsolved Mysteries as well. So yeah, that really did scare me. I was very aware that some of the effects were like a bit like cheesy looking to visually look at. Like, even though they're so fucking amazing, like you kind of look at her head spinning and you're like, that's a little bit hilarious, you know?
Yeah.
I think
it's a little Chuck E. Cheese animatronic-ish.
Yeah. I think, but what really scared me about The Exorcist was like the bed moving and like her kind of flying up and down on the bed. That's what stained my brain, because I would then go to bed and I was like, oh, the bed's gonna start moving. Like, you know, like what if my bed just started like doing that shit, you know? Like that's what really kind of I think got to me. But yeah, I do think like kids these days, if they watch like The Exorcist, if they're not from like a religious background, they might not find it as scary as what I found it at that age. But
yeah, I mean, especially because like the whole crawling down the stairs backwards and upside down thing.
Yeah,
it's been used in a lot of other movies now. So yeah, if a kid saw The Exorcist and they had already seen things like The Conjuring or what was that one with the skinny man? I don't know. It's been used in a lot of modern horror, and they would probably see that and be like, "Oh, this movie's copying that other movie," even though it was made 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I love that scene like so much. And I'm actually
let's go back to Blair Witch for a minute. You didn't really specify what about it scared you.
I feel like because he was like in the corner and it wasn't his choice to be in the corner. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it was like he was
being held against your will.
Yeah, he was powerless. Yeah, totally. I think it's the thing, like you can't control that shit. Like it's not someone that's there and you can fight or try to get your way out of it. It's just you're there and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? And he's waiting because it's the thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, how was it? Like that the Blair Witch, the dude, was it they put the person in the corner while they killed the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he was just in the corner waiting and he couldn't move. You know what I mean? So that it's just being powerless and some like invisible entity or something that's making you stay there and be there, that you can't do anything about that shit. You know, you can't just walk out if you want to walk out. Like I think that's what it is, definitely.
Kind of on par with sleep paralysis.
Yes. Yeah. That shit would be fucking terrifying. Yeah. No. Oh fuck. I hear stories about people who have that, and like I know it's is it like when like your brain wakes up before your body? So your body,
something like that, yeah.
Your basically. Body's still just like and that's like even like in when you wake up and it's not for as long, but it's the really quick, and your body kind of just jolts awake sometimes, and then that's that happening as well. But I think that would be one of the scariest things to have as a problem is sleep paralysis. That would be fucked.
It can be. Chris and I have both dealt with it at different points in our life.
Oh, not fun, man. Not fun.
No.
Not fun. Can you take anything for it medically? Or is it just you gotta just fucking deal with it?
By the time I knew what it was, it had already passed. But it was a period in my 20s where I had it happen fairly regularly, like maybe once or twice a month for maybe about a year.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was, and then it stopped happening, and it was years later that I read about sleep paralysis. I was like, oh shit, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Like, now I feel better that it wasn't just me. I thought something weird was going on, but yeah. So I don't know about Chris, but yeah, like I said, for me it was already gone by the time I understood what it was.
I don't think I ever had sleep paralysis.
No, I thought. Oh, that's right. You've said that you kind of wished that you had it.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, man. What planet are you on? You're like twisted and shit. No. Fuck
No,
that.
I felt like I was.
That's why he was.
missing
That's why
out.
he's my co-host.
You just want to experience a little bit of everything in life.
Yeah. I have FOMO of sleep paralysis.
Oh.
Shucks.
What's that like? Terrible.
Right. Ooh, can I have some? Okay, so Blair Witch, Exorcist, Stephen King. What else?
It's funny. I remember being maybe 15 or 16, and it was actually kind of the first movie that I was very critical of. But I went to see Cabin Fever by Eli Roth, and
Okay.
looking back on it, the movie's actually not bad, right? But when I saw it originally in the cinema, it was actually the first movie that I kind of came out, and I was like, I was really critical of it. Like, I was such a fucking asshole. Like, I was like being one of those dickheads that just kind of whinge about horror. But it's really strange because I feel like everyone really likes that movie. I don't know if that's just me thinking that, but
What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like. It kind of felt like it was like had some weird comedy elements, like with the police. The police.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fucking police, man.
The police were kind of
annoying,
just inept and stupid, and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cabin Fever. I think it. I sometimes think it feels like it intentionally went that way, just to poke fun at itself and not be 100%. Like fucking Karate Kid pancakes. All right.
Yeah.
It's not a serious movie at times.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think I had kind of just gotten into this mindset at that age for a while that I took my gore and like things seriously. Like I just didn't really like Eli Roth has like a thing where he kind of chucks a little bit of comedy in there.
Didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me, and then I felt like I was sitting there just criticizing things that I didn't need to criticize about the movie. You know what I mean? So
I'm curious. You mentioned, at least at this point in your life, that the quote you used was you were taking your gore seriously, and I'm wondering, because you had mentioned, the cartoonish stuff from childhood. Do you remember when there was sort of like was there a cutover to where, okay, now you were interested into the gore stuff?
The movie, I think that kind of clicked me over into also taking horror like on a more serious level. Like I was like, I don't know, like maybe 12 or maybe 11. But I was like, I'm so like old and sophisticated now that I find a Psycho, like cool. I thought like, I was such like a little fucking hipster or whatever. But like, I remember just really loving the shower scene and like just how that, looking at it and all the shots so quickly and then the blood, and I found it extremely fascinating. And I think like
that was chocolate syrup,
Yes, yeah. I have so much appreciation for that movie. I think that's where maybe I kind of clicked over and be like, no, I've got to be serious now, and horror is an art form and it's not just enjoyment, you know what I mean? So maybe it kind of made me become a bit of an asshole, but but yeah.
Potentially. I mean, it sounded like 11 or 12 was also around the same time that you saw Blair Witch and you guys got the internet, and so it wouldn't surprise me at all if you read some article somewhere about horror and, Psycho being like the best horror movie ever type of thing.
Yeah.
Because it is number one on a lot of people's lists and have been for a long time.
It is funny because I like, when people say, oh, what's your top 10 list? Like, I do have a top 10 list, and Psycho is kind of like always like up there. But at the same time, I actually usually leave it off my top 10 list because I'm like, isn't that just a movie that goes without saying that it's like one of the best movies? So I don't know. Yeah. I never actually put it on my top 10 list, even though it is like definitely probably number one.
So without going through the list and discussing them, you mentioned you have a top 10 list. Do you know them offhand?
Like, I always put Reanimator as my number one. Mm-hmm. Like, Reanimator is my everything. It's perfection. It's
It is.
It's just so beautiful.
It has everything.
Yeah,
It's got romance. It's got comedy. It's got violence.
Hang on. We'll talk about them in a minute. Just give me the list.
Okay. So definitely Reanimator, and then like Psycho is not on the list, but it's on the list. Do you know what I mean? So that's not in my top 10, like as I said before. Okay, and then I've got to go Human Centipede 2. I know.
Okay.
So many people are like, oh, fuck off. You're not even like a real, like, you know.
No, I agree with you on that one. That was the best one.
Yeah, loved it. Okay, you know, I think Maniac, the original Maniac. The Thing. Martyrs, the original Martyrs, obviously. I'm like...
Not the remake?
Oh, I mean, the remake was fabulous. Right? They totally needed to remake it too, because, you know, just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had only been made like 5 years ago. You know?
I know. I always say, I feel like, you know, I don't mind remakes, but I feel like there needs to be like a 20-year gap between the original and a remake.
There does.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. We're getting on tangents again. I think we're at 5.
Okay, 5. Tokyo Gore Police. Love it.
Nice.
Massive fan. Trying to think. Oh god, like I'm under pressure now.
You don't have to make it 10. I mean, that's a good list.
Yeah. Like I'm under pressure. I'm like kind of turned around. I'm looking at all my DVDs now, going, "What is my favorite?"
That's a good list.
Yeah, I'll chuck in Father's Day from Astron 6 Crew there as well, because I fucking love Astron 6 like so much. So yeah, you can probably see I really love like body horror and gore, but like also quirky shit. Like movies like kind of Cat Sick Blues is like, it's not in my top 10, but I'm just looking at it now and it's like reminded me I gotta mention Cat Sick Blues. But it's very close to my top 10. But like, yeah, I just like obscure movies that people probably, you know, I feel like people might put Reanimator and The Thing in their top 10, but yeah, like I like a lot of my favorite movies are probably movies that people wouldn't put in their top 50. You know what I mean? I feel like, I don't know. Yeah.
So next thing I wanted to do was go back through the list and then write down how old you were when you saw these, and then I'll split them up between teenage and adult and put them in different sections, and we can talk about them like that.
Oh, that's intense. Okay, let's do it.
How old were you when you saw Reanimator?
Oh, I reckon I was actually quite old. I reckon I was like 20. I reckon I got I remember the first time I saw Reanimator, it was like a double feature in Art Gallery in Brisbane, and I got tickets for me and my partner, and we went and saw The Fly and Reanimator as like a double feature, and it was amazing.
Well, that sounds lovely.
It was so good. Yeah.
It's a good date.
Right?
It was a tiny little cinema, and it was really cool because I really felt like there was just like some really cool horror nerds there, and you know, like everyone was laughing at like certain bits and stuff, and it just felt very like it made me feel like nice and warm.
It's like catching a concert in a small venue.
Yeah, it made me feel like part of like a bigger picture of like, I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's what horror is, and it's like such a community thing. And you know, yeah, I was just extremely blown away by it though. Like I was like, as I think it was Chris said before, like it has everything. Like it has so much good effects and blood and gore, and it has some great comedy in there. Like, I mean, the scene with the head about to give head, the head about to give head. Yeah, like, I mean, that's definitely like the best scene like in a fucking movie. Yeah, and as I said, the head giving head, and I'm sitting here in my living room just actually looking at my headless mask. I have to put headless in my top 10. That's the classic. But yeah, so yeah, 20. I was 20 when I around 20, I think, when I saw Reanimator for the first time. Too late, man.
Maniac, adult or teenager?
Oh, late teens. Yeah, late teens, and
yeah.
I was like, it was seedy. I really enjoyed the seediness, like kind of sleaziness.
What do you mean?
Like the sleaziness. Like I felt like it was like
right. But I mean, what did you like about that? Was it sexy? I mean,
yeah, it fucking was. Hey, Yeah.
What parts of the seediness were attractive to you? Let's put it that way.
I don't know. It's just like it's a feeling, you can't explain it. I don't know. Like, didn't everyone find that kind of like sexy? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like people are in denial if they're denying that wasn't.
To explain a little bit, Chris is the horror fan, but I'm not really a big horror fan. So most of the stuff you guys are talking about, I have not seen. So I don't
really
know.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you need to. Oh man, like do you know?
Well,
now,
it's kind of an intentional choice, because the important thing is for me to understand, to try to dig at what it is that you liked about it. Yeah. And if I were to go watch these movies, then I'd have my own interpretations of them, which doesn't necessarily help me understand what you liked about them.
Yeah, true. Well, I really feel like now I'm gonna be bugging you to like watch all these movies. You're like,
I try.
I'll be like, Steve, have you fucking seen this? Get the fuck onto it, man. Like, okay, so like, I feel like it was kind of like so Maniac, and then in relation to like movies like Headless, which you probably haven't seen, Steve. I don't know if you've seen Headless, Chris. Have you seen Headless?
I have seen and dressed up as Headless at a couple of conventions now.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I have the Headless.
I even had my own severed head prop that I went around fucking. It was great.
Yeah, so like in that extent, like Headless is for me kind of a little bit connected to Maniac, like in that kind of like it's sexualized gore kind of thing, and yeah, like
also they both kind of have that personality of like Leatherface, like they try to fit in, but it doesn't work. Yeah. So they get upset and throw a tantrum. Like I see that a lot in horror movie villains.
Yeah, slightly autistic or something like that, maybe. Like, yeah, I get the autism vibes from them a bit. Hey,
on the spectrum somewhere, probably, yeah.
Or at least that was the explanation they were giving.
Yeah.
So, what did you like about The Thing?
Oh well, I mean, like, I think that's pretty obvious. Like, the special effects,
body
like
horror.
that whole body horror. Just the whole scene, with the I'm assuming, Steve, you've seen The Thing.
I think a long time ago, long enough that I don't remember.
Jesus.
I mean, this is John Carpenter we're talking about here.
What is wrong with you, Steve?
It doesn't have to be a horror movie, or you don't have to be a horror fan to watch The Thing, because it's the same guy who did.
It's not a horror movie thing. It's I don't really like movies. Period. It's not a horror thing. It's
you're crazy. That's so weird.
I really was raised with my grandmother was very very efficient and always doing something, and I don't know, I and the other part of it too is I have a very high bar for art and writing and stuff like that, and I hate feeling like I got up and wasted 2 hours of my life watching something that I didn't like. And the problem is that even if there are movies out there that I would like, if I don't know that I'm going to like them, then I go into it with that fear of I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
So sometimes it ends up ruining the experience for me. So I just avoid the whole thing altogether. But it's not a horror thing. It's just that's me.
I get that with like other genres, but like actually with horror, like I have a thing that like, when people like on Facebook are like, has anyone seen like the new fucking, I'm just gonna pick a fucking name of a movie, The New Conjuring, is it worth watching? I'm like, fuck, man. Like, half the people are going to say yes, half the people are going to say no. Just fucking watch it. Get the fuck over it. Like, I never actually, like, even if I hate a horror movie, like, if I don't rate it at all, I still feel like I've gained a lot from watching it. But back to The Thing, like, I mean, there's like one specific scene where there's like, a fucking body on a table, and they're like trying to do it's not CPR. They got the fucking things and they smash through the stomach, man. And it's like just the special effects, and this whole scene is just like wild, like
shock and awe, I would say. Because I also want to add that it's like it's an escalating avalanche of what the fuck. Because I mean, first, it's known that there are duplicate people in the story at this point, but you're not expecting it just yet. Some guys, unconscious, they go to defibrillate him, and and the chest opens up with fucking teeth, eats the guy's hands who's defibrillating him,
So good.
then explodes into the ceiling with some large just pillar of body horrorness alien stuff, and then the head flies off, the head splits off and grows spider legs. It's just it's multiple what the fuck, then what the fuck, then what the fuck, then what the fuck, and then oh my god, okay, now it's on fire. Okay. So it's just it's so
good. Like
escalates
even
in
just you
levels.
explaining it is just like I've got this massive smile on my face going, yeah, that's what happened.
And to
Not
clear
just-
the air, I think I did see this one. It's just been so long that I don't remember much of it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw this in high school. I was probably flipping through channels and I didn't know what it was. And I just started watching it and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Very good.
By your teenage years, did you have any friends or family members that were also fans of horror that you were starting to share this with, or no?
No. Oh, okay. I did. I guess my older sister, kind of, I wouldn't say she's like a massive horror fan, but like she'd take me to the cinema and like
Keeping you company?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would watch horror with her, and
Any teasing going on between different people that, like we're talking about positive stuff. What about negative stuff?
yeah, no, not really. I like, because when I first started high school, like I got went from moving from Ireland to Australia, and then I went to high school, and my parents fucking made me go into an all-girls Catholic school.
I mean, you'd only had good experiences with nuns so far.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Anyone really have any good experiences with nuns ever? I mean,
But
Don't ask.
I kind of just kept to myself. Like I kind of had one really close friend, and I kind of felt like I was better than everyone else. Like I don't know if that was like I just, because I was such like my own person, I kind of looked at everyone as like they're all fucking dumbass teeny boppers who are like just really mainstream type of people, you know what I mean? And I just felt like
normies.
yeah, so I kind of felt like I didn't really care if, like what other people thought. I really just kind of tuned out, and I was just in my own little, I do what I fucking want, and I don't like because I really quite went really rebellious as soon as I hit high school, like
As one does at that age.
yeah, I think I held a lot of shit like against my parents for like, because when we moved to Australia, I had one really good friend, and she was going to a certain high school, and instead I wanted to go to that high school, but my parents were like, no, we're going to separate you from the one friend that you've made after moving, hundreds of kilometers across the world, and we're going to put you into this other high school because it's Irish and it's Catholic. And so like I lost friendship with her, and I think I just really resented that. I held it back, and I instantly was like, got really quite rebellious, and I just didn't give a shit about anyone.
It's kind of funny because the next question I was going to ask, I didn't think they were related, but they kind of almost feel like they are now. I was going to ask, did anything scary happen in your teenage years that, maybe introduced some new fears or traumas? And that almost sounds like it.
Yeah, like separation anxiety.
Yeah. Any other issues come up, do you think?
Oh, yeah, well, probably.
A lot of the questions that we ask, they're not necessarily going to have an answer for you. It's just we have a bunch of questions to ask because you never know when something's going to hit or when it's not.
Yeah.
So if I ask a question and the answer is no, just say no. I mean, don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, like I don't like. There is something that I probably like not discuss.
Well,
Yeah.
there's one thing I was thinking about, and may not really come up until adult years. And I normally probably wouldn't have asked this except for the fact that I have seen your pictures, but I'm curious. I'm wondering if this then somehow ties into the body modification.
Yeah. I don't.
Did that not come until later?
No. See, when I was really little and I was in my Scooby-Doo, Goober and the Ghost Chasers phase, I loved, like, because I really looked up to my brother and sister, which I've mentioned a few times in this show, and they were like 10 years older than me. I loved watching MTV and watching like bands, and I loved anyone that looked alternative, and anyone with piercings. I loved what's his name? Is it Keith Flint from The Prodigy?
Yes. That's kind of what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, so
especially as soon as you brought up MTV, I'm like, oh, I know where that's going.
Yeah. So I really love people with mohawks. I loved the septum piercing, especially back then. Like now, it's quite a very, very fucking common piercing, but back then that was like, you know, people be like, you look like a bull, or you know, like they would say things, but I would look at these people, and I always knew from when I was like 5, I'm like, when I grow up, I want like a fucking colorful mohawk. I want lots of piercings, and I want tattoos. Like, I just knew that's what I wanted, and it was like, in my teens, my parents were like, you know, my dad was very anti-piercing and anti-tattoo. Like, they were like put up with me dressing like a fucking clown. Yeah, they're like, oh, she's just like alternative or whatever. But like, yeah,
as long as you haven't permanently changed your body at all, you know, thy body is a temple and all.
Yeah, exactly. But like, once I turned, once I turned 18 and I could legally do what the fuck I wanted,
you know, if you talk about or do any reading about early childhood development, there are phases that kids go through, and there's typically one phase where they want to identify with their parents and they like the same thing as their parents, and you know, there's a community and their identity is wrapped up with the same things as their parents. And then at a certain point, usually in the teenage years, there comes a secondary phase where kids now want to identify themselves as different in such a way that, and then the challenge becomes, okay, how do I find a way to identify myself as being different at the same time as yet maintaining this other way of identifying with the family or the community or whatever group. And so it sounds like, and you wouldn't be the first person, but it sounds like you maybe started keying into that other desire much younger, because it sounded like you said like 5.
Yeah, like really young, like even 3. I have like, I would have it somewhere. Like, I have fucking like a VHS like home recording of like my sister like teaching me to like headbang like full like metal and I used to have like Guns N' Roses leather jacket that my brother bought me, and like Guns N' Roses t-shirts. Like, I feel like I skipped out on the stage of copying or trying to identify with my parents, because I had siblings that were a big gap of being 10 years older than me. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people might have siblings that are like, you know, maybe 5 years older than them, or, you know, whatever. They're not like, so it was kind of like my siblings were already established people, and when I was impressionable, they were going through their rebellious stage, and I looked up.
No, I mean, that makes sense, because typically, you know, any fear or desire really kind of boils down to those two things. Is it something that's pushing you away from something, or is it something that's pulling you towards something? And in this case, it sounds less like, although it might be a mixture of both, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's less that you were trying to differentiate yourself from your parents more, and more that you were attracted to identifying with what your siblings were doing.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Like, I thought they were really cool.
I'm wondering, because you mentioned that was maybe around 5 years old, and Scooby-Doo and you drawing, I'm wondering which one came first.
I used to draw a punk. Before, I used to probably drawing, like, I was always drawing. I used to, like, my dad said, like before I could even write, when I started writing, like, letters, I used to write
like chunky letters, like
just
graffiti?
like writing my name as a child. When I started writing, I used to write back to front. So instead of from left to right, I would
left-handed.
I would write I'm left-handed. I would write from right to left, but also like the physical word would be backwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
My sister is left-handed and did the same exact thing. I think it's because you mimic other kids writing from in to out.
Yeah.
So if they're right-handed, they write from left to right, but it's in to out. So you
Mirror
write
image.
from in to out, which is
Yeah.
right to left.
Yeah, so like even
That's funny.
Yeah. Even before I started doing that, like before I started writing, I was always drawing and cutting. I would love folding up paper and cutting out shapes. Like my dad was like, you were 2 and you would be able to cut out like fucking like a thing and pull it out and it would be like a thing of elephants. Like all connected to each other and shit. So, like drawing, and one of the first things I loved drawing was I used to draw this punk. He kind of looked like Homer Simpson with a mohawk and a nose piercing and a cigarette. I always used to put a cigarette in his mouth for some reason.
So I wonder if you were first interested in maybe, admiring your siblings and then got into the music and, like you say, maybe punk and from there maybe the horror monsters were in the same vein of being different.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah.
So for the teens, if we were to ask, did horror in your teens make you happy? Again, the answer is yes, but it's starting to change in terms of what made you happy about it. It went from being the cartoonish stuff to now being into the gore and the body horror.
Mm.
We've already talked about a couple of the movies that you liked as adults, so let's jump down to asking some of the same questions that we just asked about your teenage years, but now we'll ask about adult years. Have you had anything happen as an adult that's been really terrifying?
Like I suffer really bad anxiety, so I don't know if you know that, Chris, because I haven't been friends with Steve for too long, but I write about my anxiety sometimes on Facebook, but like I suffer. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it social anxiety because it's not necessarily anxiety from people, but I get panic attacks when I leave the house. So there was a whole year where I couldn't leave the house at all. I literally couldn't walk from my front door to like my post box, like 3 or 4 meters away to get mail because as soon as
remind me, is it agoraphobia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah. So, like I suffered that really bad for like a whole year, and I had a kid at that stage as well, and I was with Troy, my partner, who's still with me now. We've been together nearly 17 years. But he stood by me, and like I was like, I don't know how to deal with this because I couldn't go out to a restaurant. I couldn't go grocery shopping. I couldn't go into any shopping center. Like I would freak out. Like if I tried, and I'd get in the car and I'd be very anxious in the car. But then if we went into a big like shopping mall, what you call them in America probably instead of shopping center, but like I'd be like, if he didn't get a car park, if he didn't park the car like within like 10 meters off the entry to the shopping mall, I would freak out, and I was like, can't do it.
Were you okay in the shopping mall?
No.
Like, was it just the outdoors?
No, I couldn't. In the shopping mall, it's like, if the floor is shiny in the shopping center, and the LED lights reflect that, and then I'm walking, and it's rows of the lights, and it's like, boom, 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 boom. It feels like strobe lights coming at me. There's like all the noise swirling around me, and there's kids throwing fucking tantrums,
So like sensory overload?
Yeah, I get mega sensory overload, and then I freak out and I have to leave. So I was so bad for like a year that I couldn't leave my house. Like I couldn't take my daughter to school, which was not very far away. My mum had to take her to school and pick her up in the afternoons. Like so much like that, but I ended up getting help and getting some medication, and like it changed my life. Like just before kind of COVID hit, like in 2019.
And now you're stuck inside anyway.
Before COVID hit, in 2019, like December of 2019, we went to Japan for a few weeks, and that was something I never thought I would ever be able to do in my whole life. I never thought I'd be able to travel overseas. Like, I can't catch a bus by myself. Like, I still can't catch a bus by myself.
So wait a minute. Just you hadn't mentioned agoraphobia until being an adult.
Yeah.
When you say you never thought you'd be able to go to Japan,
as an adult. Yeah.
Okay, so from the time that I just wanted to clarify that it had not started earlier.
No. Yeah, because it started probably around when I stopped smoking weed. Actually, yeah, I started getting. I went from being really depressed to being really anxious. So like, and I was like,
that makes sense.
trading one, like literally trading one chemical imbalance for another, or whatever, or like trading one mental health issue for another. And at the time, I was like, well, you know, being anxious was better than being depressed. But then being anxious took over like so bad. But once my anxiety hit and I couldn't leave the house, I literally went from being really underweight. I was like 45 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds. Fucking like 80 kilos in a year. Just boom. Because I wasn't doing anything. I couldn't leave the fucking house. I got really fucking sick and started losing a lot of weight really quick. And I thought that was because I had gone to an effort to stop smoking cigarettes and I was exercising, and I was like, this is great, I'm losing weight. But it turned out I had type 1 diabetes, which isn't the overweight kind of diabetes. It's not because I trash my body. Is literally the genetic one that it like had laid dormant in my system from when I was like fucking born. Like I was always going to get it. And it just kind of triggered off. And I went to the doctors and I was like having stomach pains, and I was like, you know, I want to know, I think I might be gluten intolerant. I thought I was gluten intolerant. And then she did blood tests, came back, and she's like, you need to go to like the intensive care unit like now. And I was like, why? And she's like, you've got type 1 diabetes and you're lucky you're not dead right now. And I was like,
it's usually how it happens.
Yeah, it was very scary. And so since then, like that actually kind of helped my anxiety slightly, because
gave you a bigger thing to worry about.
yeah, exactly. Like, because I have to test my blood all the time. So, like, if I'm out, an anxiety attack feels very similar to low blood sugar. So, if I'm out and I feel shaky, like I'm having an anxiety attack, and I test my blood and my blood's normal, I'm like, it's okay, I'm not dying. So it kind of...
I'm just anxious.
That's a nice reassurance.
Yeah, and then if I test my blood and I am going low, it's like, it's okay, it's not anxiety, I just need to fucking eat some sugar or have some juice. So it actually kind of weirdly did help my anxiety a bit.
Typically, and this is not just anxiety, but a lot of different mental illnesses, you know, being able to put a frame around it and having some perspective on it often does help one deal with it, because once you're able to put the frame around it and have the perspective on it, then you go, oh, well, you know, now I know what it is. Now I know how to deal with it. Of course, not being able to deal with it is sometimes a challenge, but it's easier when you can identify it.
Yeah, exactly.
Normally the follow-up question to, you know, asking if there was something that terrified you as a kid, the follow-up question would be, did that affect your life in any way? I mean, obviously having diabetes does affect your life in the fact that you have to, you know, take care of the insulin, things like that. But I mean, psychologically, actually, you did say sort of helped the agoraphobia, but so oddly, I think you might be the first person that we can say it made your life better.
Maybe like mentally, like to an extent, like it's still like it's such a fucking battle, like literally. Yeah, it's pretty
to an extent. I was gonna laugh because make the joke. You're still fucking crazy, but you know.
No, I still have really fucked up anxiety. Like I can't go out and get a job. Like, you know, I have to work from home and stuff like that, and I can't drive. I've never driven a car.
So these next two questions are looking back over your entire life, and they're not just about horror, but in general.
Yeah.
I think you already answered.
We'll ask anyway. Going to give you both both of the questions at the same time, because the answer could be the same or they could be different. So the first question is, what is your favorite movie? And the second question is, what movie have you watched more times than any other?
Okay, well, yeah, I'll answer the second one first. So I definitely have seen Psycho, like, I think the most times. than any other movie. I believe that's definitely the one I've seen most, for obvious reasons. Beautiful masterpiece. I love it. Favorite movie? Yeah, it's got to be Reanimator, man. It's got to be Reanimator. I will have so much love for that movie.
Basically, there's like 2 or 3 things that have been popping up as reoccurring themes. One is power and empowerment or lack of power.
Yes.
Is, a fear. One is the desire of wanting to be this alternative, different.
Being different in general.
Yeah. There's a word that is escaping me at the moment, though. I'm trying to...
Unique.
Eccentric?
Maybe. The desire for, I guess, what they had kind of thing. And then it kind of taking this turn into what wound up being interest in horror, which may be tied to the power element as well as other things. I mean, it does tie into your artistic enjoyment of a number of different things. Some of the next questions relate to saying, okay, if those are the things that are important to you, then why horror? Is it not possible to find those kinds of things in other genres?
I don't think so. Like, I fucking look at, like, if I was to sit down and watch a comedy movie, like, I feel like women are always portrayed as, like, objects, which they are in horror as well, and they can be portrayed as ditzy in horror as well, but, like, in horror, it's always like they end up having substance, you know what I mean, in the long term. Like, kind of maybe at the start, like, the final girl, you're like, oh, she's just a dumbass ditzy bitch, but then, oh, no, she's not. Whereas I feel like
now she's a badass bitch with a battle axe.
Yeah. I feel like in, like, probably, like, okay, I'm not really want to get into fucking Marvel movies or, like, that style of, like, Marvel, DC. There's probably a lot of fucking characters in those movies that I would really like as well, but I just have a thing against. I have a thing against Marvel movies because I believe that they're made for people to like them, and that's why I don't want to watch them, because I know I like them, and I don't want to like them for...
They're a little pandering.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But,
well, it's kind of funny that you brought that up, because that's actually the first thing I thought of was comic books. Although the difference here is that you're talking about the movies, which, yes, are definitely made to cater to the widest audience possible. But when I think about comic books, particularly indie comics, there's a huge range of styles and genres and things like that. Now, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe it's just a matter of what she got introduced to first. It may have just been, okay, you got introduced to horror cartoons instead of comic book.
Yeah.
That might just be luck of the draw.
Yeah, very true. Oh, yeah.
Unless there's some other reason that you think that you're more interested in horror than some other genre.
Well, I just feel like, so now, like, I feel like you're not going to see, like, a comic book movie that's really low budget.
Well, I think that might be true in the migrating it from the comic to a movie, because making a movie requires a lot of money.
Yeah.
And of course, the people who want to put that money in want to get paid. So, they have their stipulations. But, like, just in terms of being, for example, a comic book artist and drawing an indie comic, like, that's the first thing that came to mind to me as being an alternative to exploring the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, I never really got introduced to comics, like, at all growing up. I, as an adult, have bought a very few comics. I literally got just a bunch of kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre comics because I saw someone selling them on fucking eBay, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to have.
They have comics.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's actually some Reanimator ones as well, which I wouldn't mind getting. But and that was more so like, if tomorrow came and like my comics got ruined, I wouldn't be overly giving a shit about it. Like, So I really got into a TV show called Preacher. I don't know if you've seen that, but and
Oh, yeah.
I
I've heard
learned,
of it.
yeah,
And the comic is awesome.
yeah, and I learned that it was a comic. So like after watching it, I went and got some of the comics, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And I love watching it and looking at the art. But I was never really introduced to like any form of comics growing up.
That caught your fancy.
I never read a comic until I was an adult, like ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like not that like I might have got like a fucking Simpsons, like a Simpsons little comic book at some point when I was a kid, but I think that was about it.
Last question, considering the theme of the podcast, is there anything relevant that you're aware of that we haven't asked about?
Jesus, I feel like that's really broad.
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
Did we
intentionally
miss
so.
anything?
Yeah, did we miss anything?
I don't think so. Oh, not really. No, I don't think so.
No is an acceptable answer.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I could just say like, yeah. I feel like a lot of people who don't like horror don't understand the art behind horror and how it's made, and that is like a massive part of what I love about horror and how horror makes me happy is the art, because it's art. You don't get any other genre in film or TV that has so much need for artists, and having to problem solve, like, how you going to fucking make this chick look like her head's been cut off in one shot and make it all fluid and the blood to come at the right time and things to fall in the right place. You don't get that in other genres of film, you know what I mean? Like,
I get that, but I would say even in your case, I understand that you started drawing at a very early age, but I would argue that the artistic element is secondary to the emotional content, and it's really the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand in mainstream culture, at least, about horror fans is the emotional connection. And that's what we try to explore in the show is what's the emotional connection, why is it there? And in your case, when we're talking about, for example, your love of your older brother and sister and the music that they liked and, going into that direction and the punk, and then tying that in with your experience with the cartoons and the monsters there being wild and crazy and different and kind of going off in that direction. To me, that really sounds like that was the genesis of it for you. And then the art part of it came secondary to it and expanded it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a part of it, but I feel like the heart of it was what we just talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, probably. I think they both kind of complemented each other, and
it definitely grew into the art part of it.
Yeah.
Sure. And as you become more of an adult and your art, how can I say this? As you get to be a better artist, then the artistic parts of it become more important to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely true. Like, I become so much more like critical of shit. You become so much more of an asshole about things.
But I think a lot of that still ties back to the emotional part of it because you want to feel that emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it doesn't give you that emotion, then you're going to disagree with it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Give a little background. When I was in college, I had a 2 or 3 hour break in between classes. And so I'd go to the student lounge and they had 2 pool tables there, billiard tables that we would shoot pool on. And because I think it was like even 1 or 2 semesters where I had this 2 hour break, I got fairly good at it because I was playing it almost every day. And I got to a point where I realized that when you're very good, not just at pool or billiards, but probably everything in life, once you get to a certain point, it's no longer about making mistakes, or it's not about how good you are. It's about how few mistakes you make.
Yeah.
First of all.
Oh yeah.
And then the second part of it is when it comes to art, there are no mistakes in art. So what's a mistake in art? A mistake in art is choosing something differently than what someone else might have chose.
Yeah.
So when somebody says somebody's the best artist of all time in some genre, to me, all that says is, no, that artist just made all the same choices you would have made.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
I
And
disagree.
Of
There are
course you would.
mistakes.
Well,
If like
What if you intended to draw a line in a certain direction and you went the wrong direction? You gotta get out your eraser, man. That's
but
a
I
mistake.
think
Fucked
that's
up.
like a conflict between the artist and what they are physically doing. Like, because when I draw, I will make mistakes, but to other people, they aren't mistakes. I haven't pointed my fucking mistake out. Like, it's not like,
right.
like I'm like, oh, like, so it might be like, oh, originally I was going to draw like the eyeball like this, but instead I ended up drawing it like that because I did something and I wasn't happy with it, so I changed it. But
right, but the point is, you could change it, or you could decide, no, I'm gonna go in this direction, and I'm gonna leave it like that. And at that point, it then becomes the choice. And the thing is the person viewing it feeling that you made the right choice, or the same choice they would have made?
But like they don't know that I made any choices. You know what I mean? Like in relation to that, because I like hide my mistakes. Yeah. But like, yeah, what is a mistake to someone might not be a mistake to someone else. You know what I mean?
But the point of it goes back to the emotion that it evokes, and if an artist makes the right choices or the choices that you would have made, that then you get the emotional connection.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. Very true.
Well, thank you for your time. You know what? We totally skipped the part where we ask if you wanted to pitch anything.
Oh my god!
Is this like my pitch right now? Okay.
It is.
Yeah, fucking Silent Goat. Sorry, 100%.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. I think.
Briefly. Yeah, just check out Silent Goat on Instagram. I think it's silentgoat.art. There is like pictures of my art, and then people wearing my art as clothes, because I put my art on clothes, and sometimes I sell prints, and I also take custom art commissions if someone wants me to draw something that's up my alley and you want like a band cover or just some fucking cool art. I designed some tattoos for some people and stuff, and they pay me, and I do that. And yeah, that's what I do. And yeah. And it's all creepy.
It is really
it's all psychedelic and bright and creepy and weird, strange stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
I was gonna say some of the interesting things that I noticed. It was like a mix of I want to say either Cheshire Cat and or Lovecraftian type stuff like Cthulhu.
Yeah.
But in neon colors.
Yeah, I definitely. I love like tentacles. I love tentacles and like melty things, and but also like,
which is definitely a different take on it. I never would have thought of that had I not seen that.
Yeah, I love it.
It's like a triple ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually,
sorry, I had to.
You know what? I just thought of another way to put this too. It's also like Cthulhu mixed with Candy Kid.
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of is.
Yeah. I like
Candy
that.
Kid Raver.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Oh my god, now I'm just picturing Cthulhu with fucking wrist to elbow candy.
Oh my god, I will totally put that in your drawing. I will definitely have to draw that, man. Like a little fucking raver.
Glow sticks in each tentacle.
Yes! But he's still got to look kind of angry, hey, I think.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Cthulhu doesn't look happy. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's like Techno Viking meets Cthulhu meets Candy Kid.
I love it. I'm going to write that down in my phone when I get off. I have like a list of ideas that I put into my phone when I think of good ideas, and I'll...
You'll have to tag us in that when you.
I will send you guys a free damn print when I do that one. Yeah.
That would be cool too. Okay, I'll put that on my wall.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It was really fun, and it was honestly like a really strange therapy session. Yeah, it was really cool. I don't need to go and see a psychologist anymore. Yeah, no.
At least for another week or two.
Yeah.
We'll send you the bill.
No, it was really cool, and it was awesome speaking to you both. Yeah.
Well, let me hit the closing here. Thank you to anybody out there listening. Again, please do come visit us at horrormakesushappy.com. We got a list of the people there we'd like to interview. If you'd like to have anybody added to the list or can think of somebody you can help us get in touch with, please let us know. You can also hit us up on social media and let us know how we're doing. There's stuff on the merch page, links to Patreon, all kinds of stuff. So horrormakesushappy.com.